So Liwanag 3 book launch is the final phase following the reissue of the first original volume of Liwanag in 1975. So SOMA Pilipinas is proud to release the newest entry into this series, as the original Liwanag and Liwanag 2 that came out in 1993 amplified the voices of local Bay Area Pilipinx American artists of those time periods. Liwanag 3 showcases and reflects upon the evolution of the Pilipinx identity of today. And Liwanag 3 features a wide range of genres in poetry, fiction, playwriting, comics, and graphic novels. Visual arts also in Liwanag include paintings, illustrations, and photography. So what we're gonna have for you today, there's a series of things. So it's gonna be basically a preview of the book. We're gonna have some poetry readings, a music performance, as well as a panel discussion. And today you can actually pre-order the book and check it out over there at the tent over there. That's Archipelago Books. They're one of two Filipino and Filipino American bookstores here in the U.S. They are selling pre-orders for that book, so go check it out there. We also have Filipino American writers and artists, Pawa, over there tabling as well. Yeah, hi Edwin. There's Edwin over there for Pawa. Lily is over there if you guys want to check out Archipelago Books. Yeah, please support them. They're here. How are we doing? Are we ready? So let's welcome Rachel from SOMA Pilipinas. Woohoo! Yeah, grab my mic.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit later about this project, but I wanted to introduce some of the artists that might be here that are contributors to Liwanag Volume 3. I do see a few of you behind your mask. If you want to just raise your hands up and see if who's here. Yes, we have Shirley, Steve Balale in the house. Hey, Oliver Saria, what's up? Sean San Jose, I see over there. So we're gonna first start off with the cultural performance from Golda Supernova. She's also a playwright, director, producer at Bindlestiff Studio, and a singer-songwriter. So give it up for Golda.
This is a new song. It's called Free Time.
Getting free. Ah, they called this storm my soul afloat. This river full, I know this call, this natural sink long, drop calm. What's it grow? What's it heal? What's it take? What's it gonna create? for getting free. Times for getting free. Oh, this rock is night so dark. My heart, a winter long, so stark. This blade so sharp. This cold freeze off. There are wasted parts. Time is for making. Times for getting free. Times for getting free. Thank you.
Play this one last song, okay? And then I'm really proud to be here to represent Liwanag, and really proud to be part of the publication and this space. Thank you.
Break out your mixtapes and all of your smoky things, lollipops and rum. So nice to see your shining face. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4? Unicorns and mermaids, dark-haired ices, shadow ninja robots, all the dancing hobbits, aliens and supernatural creatures, guardian of the trees, giant beasts of the seas, lollipops and rum, lollipops and rum, lollipops and rum. Break out your mixtapes, all your smoky things, lollipops and rum, so nice to see your shining face. Welcome home, the gangs are here. Oh, the gangs are here. Welcome home, the gangs are here. Lollipops and rum. Fire-breathing dragons, lollipops and rum. Self-existing humans, lollipops and rum. Getting in all directions, stars in every break out your mixtapes, all your smoky things, lollipops and rum, so nice to see your shining face. Welcome home, the gangs are here. Oh, the gangs are here. Welcome home, the gangs are here. Lollipops and rum. For the kids, lollipops and ramen, lollipops and ramen, lollipops and ramen, lollipops and ramen. Out your mixtapes and all of your smoky things, lollipops and rum. So nice to see your shining face. Welcome home, the gang's all here. Oh, the gang's all here, gang's all here. Welcome home, the gang's all here. Lollipops and rum. Stop, 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Bayani. I'm the thank you. I'm the editor-in-chief of Liwanag 3. Thank you. And I'm also the artistic director for Kearney Street Workshop, who is proud to be publishing this latest volume of Liwanag. We're really excited to present this newest collection out to all of you. This week I worked on the intro and to the book. And one of the things I was talking about in it was, if any of you follow the poet Barbara Jane Reyes on your social media feeds, she constantly advocates for artists in our community or writers in our community to write what you want, when you want, how you want, and where you want. And, you know, when they put Liwanag together back in 1972, and they did exactly that. They put together what they wanted, when they wanted, how they wanted on their own terms. And I think as Filipinos here in this country, as Filipino artists, we've done that for decades. And you know, I think about like how when I was growing up watching the mobile DJs, they made a space for themselves in that area. You think about like folks like Classified Records, who made the space for themselves out in the freestyle dance world. And like also like my brother right over there, in 1999, his crew Rock Force took themselves over to Germany and won Battle of the Year with no institutional support. So we've always done what we wanted, when we wanted, how we wanted, and where we wanted. And this is, you know, when I think about the time we're in right now, and seeing that, like, you know, we see more Filipinos in media, we see more Filipinos in, you know, the arts, and gaining mainstream acceptance. But the thing is, with mainstream acceptance, you know, there's this kind of need to want to be accepted by the institution. And that's not how we got here. So, you know, putting this together is a return to that for us. And I think it's been a very profound experience for all of us that have worked on it, to be able to put this volume together, to be able to try to give a platform how we want, where we want, in the manner that we wanted, and to be able to present that to all of you. So thank you. Orders will be, you can order it yet. We'll have the book this summer. So pre-order it right now with Archipelago. And thank y'all for being here. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Rachel Lastimosa. Welcome to API Cultural Center's 24th Annual United States of Asia America Festival at Kapwa Gardens. Yes, we are in SOMA Pilipinas, and I have the honor of serving San Francisco's Filipino Cultural Heritage District as Arts and Culture Administrator. And I came into this line of work because I am an artist. In the early aughts, as an emerging musician, I lived just a few blocks from here and released my first album with a show at what was the Beale Street Bar and Grill, which is now home to the Salesforce Transit Tower. A couple years later, I had made my debut as a theatrical musician just down the block, while plans for a development called 5M that has dramatically impacted the South of Market were surfacing. And not too long after that, I jumped a fence wearing a choir robe to sing about the effects of gentrification on the steps of St. Joseph's. That was through Kearney Street Workshop. And then, you know, bringing it back to just a couple years ago with Arena's project documenting the fight for Victoria Manalo Draves Park to not be shadowed by a luxury development. We were at the planning hearing, and for hours, there were over 100 people, from youth to elders, telling their stories about why place was so important to them. My work as administrator for arts and culture gives me the opportunity to reflect deeply on the why we've lost half of the Filipino population in SOMA, why the wellness of our collective and individual being can be so precarious, why access to basic human rights for our communities is such a struggle. And in this position, I'm also reminded why arts and culture are necessary to our survival and ability to thrive as a people. From my vantage point, I'm witness to and co-conspirator in the self-determination of our neighborhood and the future we forged together. Even if the path isn't clear, we make the road by walking, and the OGs lit the way for us over 45 years ago through Liwanag 1975, the original volume. Liwanag is a project that our elders dreamt and created far before many of the newest volume's contributors were even born. It's a reminder that gives us the permission to unapologetically capture who we are in this remarkable time and in this place that holds over 120 years of our ancestors' stories. Stemming from such richness, Liwanag is a mirror to the narratives that were never written in history textbooks or made into blockbuster films. And for the past 2 years, it's been such a privilege and honor to work alongside some of the most gracious hearts and brilliant minds I know. Maraming utang na loob for the editorial committee of Liwanag 3 and supporters of this work for holding this mirror up to our community as gracefully as you have. I'd like to take this opportunity to call up Manong Oscar Peñaranda, Manong Joe Ramos, if he's here, Jason Bayani, Steve Belali, Irina Alejo, Dara Katrina Del Rosario, and Edwin Lozada. Maraming salamat for your leadership and for your love of our community and artists. Give them a big hand. This crew has been working for the past 2 years to get the reissue out of Liwanag, the original volume, and is working also on this volume 3 that's going to be coming out this summer. I gave them a copy of the 1995 version of volume 2, which is also for sale at Archipelago, as well as the reissue that we put together. And you can also sign up for pre-order for the volume 3 that we're currently working on right now. So we're just missing Joe Ramos, who's one of the original contributors as well, but wanted to give these folks so much shine for all the hard work and the amazing teamwork that we were able to conjure together. So let's give a big hand. Thank you. Thank you so much. So this publication was supported by the Bayanihan Community Center, Filipino American Development Foundation, Kearney Street Workshop, SOMA Pilipinas, the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, SOMA Community Stabilization Fund, and Asian Pacific Islander Cultural Center. Next up, we have a couple of performances. How y'all feeling? Yeah. I'd like to introduce Antia Jewel, writer, poet, and birth worker based out of Oakland.
I said hello, hello, hello. I thought we were in San Francisco. I said hello, hello, hello. In the church of poetry that I come from, parishioners participate. So when I am moving through this piece for you, go ahead and let it out. Let your spirit soar. Let everything that you have been holding release into this space, because it took me a village to get here and I can't do this without you. So when I say hello, Kapwa Gardens, you say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to give deep gratitude to the beautiful folks over at Kearney Street Workshop. I want to give deep gratitude 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. I want to give deep gratitude to our transcestors and ancestors, whether they were out and proud or shuttered away, living their best and only lives, surviving so that we could be here today. I say Ashe, Ago, Ame. I want to say thank you to the National Democratic Movement, whose praxis, rhetoric, and energy have sculpted me into the woman I am today. I say thank you. We say Isang Baksak because we will no longer stand for imperialism, racism, any of the isms that really just waste our time and get in the way of us living our best lives. And with that, I offer this as a thank you. In deep, deep honor and gratitude to everyone who has ever had their heart broken in this struggle and still, some way, somehow, continue to show up to make this movement beautiful. My love, I will not tell you how fierce you are, or how amazing you are, or how you did not deserve what happened, did not deserve for your grief, your shame, your abandonment to be cannibalized by the movement. We know that sacred things like shards of a broken heart have a way of cutting through even the best of intentions. So you keep smiling and folks will say you're resilient, because the truth is all hearts have broken at least once. No. I will stand back in awe, star child, at how divinely human you are. How achingly beautiful it is to witness the depths of your soul voraciously willing you to live by allowing you to channel all of the contradictions of a love that looks like anything but divining your way forward through ancestral constellations. Yes, you, Kasama, are North Star realness, a perfectly beaten Bakla goddess breathing life into barren chambers that once pulsated with drum beats, resurrecting mother tongues to dance upon our tongues, resurrecting dead languages to dance upon our mother tongues, and strutting down catwalks consecrated with the bones of colonizers, hammer in raised fist, slaying impe to filth, and no person, no friend, no foe, no other lover will ever extinguish your fire. It takes courage to love like this. It takes fortitude to live this free. You, Kasama, are the embodiment of one solution. And your untamed existence and refusal to cower is revolution. For you, for us all. I love you, Maga Kasamas, and I will fight for your peace by any means necessary. Thank you.
How amazing was that? Give it up for Auntie Jewel. So much fire. I also had the privilege of introducing our next poet, Jay Theo, also known as JT, SF-based poet, educator, and vocalist of the Boondock Squad. Give it up.
Could we give it up one more time for Rachel, Jason, Oscar Peñaranda, and the whole team behind Liwanag 3, yo. It's an honor to be part of this anthology. Can we give it up for Golda again and Auntie Jewel, please, y'all. I just want to thank you all for creating this space. Kapwa Gardens, SOMA Pilipinas, Everyone who is here, like, there are a lot of people here that I really admire. Like, I see what y'all do on the day-to-day. And there are a lot of people here that I'm excited to get to know more. And I'm just honored to be in this space with such powerful people that I love. Shout out to Forging Our Futures. Really excited that this festival goes on. APICC, USAAF 2021. It's beautiful. Can we make some noise for USAAF, y'all? I had the honor of, during the pandemic, being able to collaborate with the amazing artist, Malaya Tui, on a graphic poetry book. If you dig the poetry that I'm about to share, I am selling the book. It's in my bag, you know what I'm saying? So, if you dig it, just holler at me. Or check out, the link's on the site too. But, it's been a while. It's been, we've all been like locked inside of our homes, so it'd be cool to just, say hi to folks and catch up with you all, get to know new folks too. Yeah. Fetching carts at a grocery store will teach you how to sculpt your smile to comfort silver spoon-fed sons of guns. Like a superstitious ritual of reassurance, my smile was a plea for protection from being fired. We crew members mirrored our smiles to each other, like we all gave permission to spend the best days of our lives here. We smiled, too busy or afraid to bother with anything else but small talk. We smiled and felt out of our own skin, just hollow pairs of working hands. We hammered chisels into our faces to carve out grins we couldn't erase, even when our souls felt like unturned stones. We were sculpted to whatever pleasing statue would welcome the next customers in. We wore tags on our chests so our names would make the customer experience feel more personal. This is how we shaped up to be professionals. My supervisor said that in 5 years, if my smile was good enough, I could become a manager there. Unlike most of my crewmates who didn't have college degrees or green cards, crewmates whose smiles or frowns or tears resided in the back of the house, they whose names our crew remembers with gratitude, even if society never will. A few papers assimilate me. A few papers assimilate me into the migrant climb of America. I climb for the comforts of becoming a white-collar brown man while trying not to forget the names of those I've worked alongside in kitchens and grocery stores, knowing our time together was temporary. Yet I can't help but feel the pull of the common thread that exists between me and my people, whose cinnamon skin resembles mine, though their hands bear calluses my hands never have. Those who will never taste the food I get to eat. Folks who laugh about my struggles like I do about white fragility. I know my privileges stand on their backs. I try to remember the names of the workers I come across every day. I only remember their smiles greeting me as I pass by. They work from 5 to 9 so that I can work a 9 to 5. The street sweepers and garbage collectors. The custodians who wait for the last drunk yuppie to miss and piss everywhere and finally go home. The construction crews clearing roads as I sleep. The truckers who traverse freeways like blood in the veins of our economy. Most of us may die without wondering whose hands decorate our plates and feed our families each day. The farm workers who left the tropics of their homeland to brave the drought in California. They whose skin touches pesticides like perfumes, whose resilience wouldn't allow their weathered hearts to petrify. I wish I learned the names of the workers who were handcuffed and laid on the floor in that furniture store by ICE. I was too busy rushing to work. Or the names of the families who secretly lived under the local laundromat before the ICE raid. I don't know what it's like to drive home after a long day of work, fearing that I could be detained and pulled over along the way. To acknowledge that no smile of reassurance, no amount of hard work or money earned would guarantee my family's safety today. I hardly know what it's like to be blamed for this economy's downfall when my hands know too well about holding it up. I hardly know what it's like to feel foreign in the home I built. I want to tell our migrant workers that they're not resident aliens. They're our hometown heroes. I no longer remember the name of a worker I befriended in the mines of Surigao, Philippines. They once told me to tell their stories and paraphrase it for any person I speak to. They told me that if they can't, maybe their children will one day escape those mines to write for their people like I do. Maybe their kids will play with mine and go to school like mine will. I told them I wouldn't want to appropriate a struggle that is theirs to tell. They asked me, if you don't tell our stories for us, will they ever be heard? My people's struggles hammered chisels into my soul, carving out a new purpose no one could erase. By any means, their legacy, their humanity, their names will be fought for and remembered until the day that my kids can be side by side with theirs, until their names are stitched in the fabric of our culture. The tapestry of our history awaits to be completed by the stories our people are yet to tell. As a Filipino by birth, American by forced migration, I am working to find our common thread from here, in the petty chaos of the everyday hustle, in the land of the free, in the home of imperialism. May we thread together resilience like capes and muster strength to keep our people safe, for our everyday heroes who risk their lives crossing Minutemen-infested borders, until unity is woven, until victory is ours, hanggang sa tagumpay. Thank you, y'all.
Give it up for JTO. Thank you all. So we're going to move on to the panel section of our program. And I just wanted to introduce our panelists, who are all artists and contributors to the newest volume of Liwanag 3. Jason Bayani, the editor-in-chief. He's a poet and author of titles Locus and Amulet, creator of solo theater show Locus of Control, arts organizer of KSW, and the editor-in-chief. Welcome, Jason Bayani. I also want to welcome Shirley Ancheta, co-editor of the Filipino American poetry collection Without Names. She was part of the student movement while attending SFSU and became a third world community activist in San Francisco, including the fight against eviction for the elderly at the iHotel. Shirley belonged to Kearny Street Workshop and was a founding member of the Filipino Bay Area Writers, and received her BA from UCSC in American Literature. Until her recent retirement, she worked at Cabrillo College as an English lab instructor and tutor, and she is the widow of poet Jeff Tagami. She makes her home in Santa Cruz, California. Welcome, Shirley. Next up, we have Sean San Jose, born and bred in San Francisco. Come on down. Coming from a Filipina woman family identifying as an islander, equaling Filipinx and Puerto Rican. He is a part of the new performance group Campo Santo, creating work by and for people of color since 1996. Previously, the program director of performance at Intersection for the Arts, and newly appointed artistic director of Magic Theater, who feels lucky to continue to create, develop, and collaborate on all new works that reflect our city and the world we live in. Give it up for Sean San Jose. Also, we have Malaya Tui. She's from Carpinteria, who works and lives in the Bay Area. She channels the legacies of print and textile mediums to share her experience with trauma and her process of loving the different intersections of her queer mixed Pilipinx American identity. She draws from this personal experience of losing her mother at a young age to create real and tactile objects out of grief. She mobilizes her art practice in support of mutual aid organizing in the Bay Area and international advocacy work supporting frontline environmental defenders in Mindanao, Philippines. Welcome, Malaya. And for our moderator, we have Manong Oscar Peñaranda. He's a retired educator, writer, culturalist, student of history, who was an original Liwanag editor. He actually took money out of his own savings in order to print the original volume of Liwanag. Without him, the reissue and the relaunch of Liwanag would not have been possible. So give it up for Manong Oscar Peñaranda, who will be moderating today.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for dropping by today. Seems like I did something like this about 45 years ago. So, like, can you hear? All right. Sean San Jose. Jason Bayani, Sean San Jose, and Malaya, and Shirley Ancheta. I'm going to start asking Shirley Ancheta a question because I personally want to know myself, when we started this Liwanag in the late 1960s and coming out in the early 70s, I don't see anybody here that was then here with me. The next thing I knew from this panel was Shirley Ancheta, and she was here and she had joined the Kearney Street workshop. And I was going to ask you, Shirley, what did you learn, or have you heard of Liwanag when you joined Kearney Street workshop? Was it the same time? How did Liwanag come into your...
Right, I heard about Liwanag when I was attending college, Cabrillo College in Santa Cruz, and I was just getting to know writers of color. Back then we were called third world writers. And there was Liwanag, and there was a book by Caillou Shu. It was there were writers, but they were marginalized writers. I mean, most literary journals did not publish the voices of third world people. So when I saw Liwanag, I just thought, oh my God, there are Filipino writers out there. And when I joined up, I wanted to come to San Francisco. I wanted to join the people of color and the movement here during affirmative action, ethnic studies, all of that. And Kearney Street was they were very welcoming to me and my boyfriend then, Jeff Tagami. Kearney Street offered a place of resistance for us where we could write about our struggles as writers, and we knew we had to also do narratives about the Manongs who were dying at that point and were living alone, and their stories had not come through yet. So Liwanag offered a place where the writers could write about that older generation. All we had for ancestral literary lineage was Carlos Bolosan, and I'm trying to think of who else.
I don't know, maybe Ben Santos? I don't know.
Ben Santos,
Yeah,
right? A few of those people, and then the Japanese American writers. But we took a lot of inspiration from the African Americans because they were struggling, and they taught us how to voice ourselves. So.
Yeah, correct.
No
Yeah,
question.
some resistance. It was always because if you go through Liwanag, one of the I guess trademarks of highlight of a Liwanag publication is that of resistance. So you'll see that in Liwanag 1, 2, and 3. I was wondering, for the rest of the panel, how did you Jason, how did you get? Because there were a few before you that headed Kearney Street Workshop, right? Can you give us a little bit from the beginning about of the different directorships that was in the Kearney Street Workshop?
I didn't join Kearney Street until 2014. So I mean, it's kind of went through a lot of different leadership. But one of the longest running leaders of Kearney Street was Nancy Hom, for sure. And and that's kind of a lot of the work they were doing, and Nancy from back in the day, that, history of kind of arts and activism through just not only like the literature, but also like the screen prints and just kind of like using visual arts to go out into the streets and, accentuate and amplify the protest.
Yeah. Because folks must be sometimes wondering what was Malaya, what made you want to submit your work? in this Liwanag 3. Have you heard of Liwanag 1 and 2 before this? Or, and the same with you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. To be honest, I wasn't familiar with it one and two before, but I was introduced through Kearney Street Workshop through Jason and Rachel. And so I was able through then to like learn more and do more of my research about the paths that y'all paved, and I'm like very honored to be on this panel with y'all, like all generations. And so yeah, to just be a part of that and also share from my personal experience of being someone who is queer and is like their generation, and to have that in the mix as well.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And congratulations, by the way, for that Magic Theater gig. That's nice, yeah.
Oh.
Hello? I just want to stop for a second to say how honored I am to be here in this space, in our city. It's now a Filipino space. You know, we can see it from above, you can see it down the block, you can see it from everywhere. And then to be on this panel, we have living history right here, and it's just an honor. Anytime I'm in the room with any of the OGs, OG Oscar, whenever I get to hear you read, anyone that fought in the struggle, it's amazing. The resilience of our people, and the resilience very specifically of the city. So I just, you know, I stand in awe, and I stand like I stood over there listening against the brick wall, just watching in awe. And so that's how I feel like I even came to this. I like many of us here probably, you know, I grew up with no books about us, or no books that I knew of. And then you had that moment when you seen the first book, and then you're like a fiend, and you try and find every single book, and you steal a few maybe at City Lights. I'm not saying me in particular, but students that maybe look like me.
Yeah.
And you just get everything you can. They had amazing collections like that, and that's where you really find out about all the names. You know, you go in the poetry section, and then you find the volumes that have, all of a sudden you see 9 names. You go, hey, look at these names. That sounds like my family. Hey, these names, this sounds like my classmates. So yeah, I'm excited. I get excited anytime our people and our words are put out into the world, because I feel it's like what you said, what I said, what you said, every time it feels like it's the first time. So the struggle truly continues.
Yeah, and for me personally, it's always a pleasure and I guess always an awakening when a group of artists and poets and writers get together from different places and different cultures. I always see the differences and also the similarities that we all have. People of color, our ethnic cultures, the people from Puerto Rico who were my neighbors, the black folks, all of us. Didn't take us long to figure out why we were kept apart and why we should stay together. Until today, that should be remembered. So, I wanted to ask also, why is like, I guess connected to that is, why is a publication like this important to you and your position right now? What about you?
Well, I mean, again, I think it's about, we have living history right here, and I think we want written history. We have history written in our skin everywhere. And so I think just the more we tell our stories, the more we stay alive. You know, like they say, we will be here forever. And we've gone through, you know, we kind of like what JT was saying too, where we are now, the privileged place of even being recognized as people is even different than when I went to, you know, I've come from the junior high when we had the white, black, other, you know, and we were in the other thing. And so I'm just amazed at anything that we can do that puts our name on the wall, that puts our family name out there, that is the line of the island that you're from, the city that you're from. So whether it's a publication or a graph or a song, anything.
Yeah, thanks. And what would Malaya and Bayani, and maybe Shirley too, what would Filipino American art, like some essence of it, would it be, what makes a Filipino American art or artist work to you to be Filipino American in the Bay Area? Do you have a certain feel for certain things? How would you, I know it's not an easy question, but how would you find the uniqueness in the Bay Area, Filipino American artists, writers, and art graphics? included, films included too. So we'll start with you, Shirley, since you're. I know you're active.
Think about that.
Okay, she'll think about it for a while. All right, she'll think about it for a while, and then we'll start with Malaya.
Find it right now.
Yeah, Malaya. Okay. Go ahead, Bayani. Why don't you start?
Well, I mean, being able to kind of like, well, one of the things is like, now that I'm kind of in my 40s now, and I thought there was a certain way or a certain thing that Filipino American art was, because I think it was a lot, it was, growing up, like I think we were all trying to figure our way through this. But then now, like when I look at like, what's really cool is like being able to stay connected to younger like Filipinx artists, and also like through kind of like social media and seeing what young Filipinx people are talking about. And that definition has expanded so much about what we are in this country, what we're about, and what our aesthetic is, and it's pretty dope.
And Malaya, do you have anything to add to that, or?
I feel like it is ever expanding. I feel like seeing just through the 3 volumes how things are shifting or the same through all generations is beautiful. And also the Bay Area holds such a rich history. I will be also honest that I came here from a small town and it was primarily white and Chicanx folks. So for me, I was never really around any Filipinos, Filipinx folks, Pilipinas. And so I was very disconnected. And so when I came out here, I know unfortunately a lot of us are still being pushed out. But once I came here, there was like more of a connection to folks here. And there was just like a vibrancy in the community, within the Filipinx artist community, that I feel like really is like family. And so I'm just always grateful for that. And I do believe that it is always growing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
Oh, she's got it now. Okay. All right.
Okay, so, can you hear me? Okay, you got, okay. So, it's like, when we were writing it with our generation, it was like, oh, you mean I can't just write about the night of sex I had last night or whatever, right? We had to explain ourselves, who we were, who our parents were, where we were from. I'm a descendant of a plantation worker in Hawaii. So I had to start from there. And then I had to start from who my mother was and those stories. And now I think we have a little bit more freedom to go out a little bit and search a little bit more for what we're doing within the struggle as people of color. And I also think it wasn't just a particular I am Filipino American, because I'm also Chicana, I'm also African American. There's a little bit of Okie in me, it's not just one condensed thing, because we were all working together within the movement back then.
Oh, I'm glad you thought of that. Good, thank you. Well, maybe this one is sort of a 2-part question. What the Liwanag first, the one that I was part of in the beginning. When you look at it now, how do you guys look at it? And the second part is that how would you look at this Liwanag 3 now, in which you guys are in? Maybe how would your kids look at it, maybe 40 years from now? So a 2-part question. You want to start it?
Yeah, sure. I'm still, what you just said is so beautiful, so full and moving. And I feel in a lot of ways that feels like exactly anytime I pick up a pen or the computer, it feels like I got to start from, always, of course, start with my grandmother and then my mother and those stories. It's so beautiful. I mean, I think the beautiful thing about all the collections is the not just standing as a piece of history, but a testament of time and standing up through time. I could look at any one of your poems, man, and today, yesterday, 30 years, 40 years ago, it's the same with all of them. So it is like what you're saying. It works against what you're saying about, well, now we need to cleave out and articulate to the white world or the rest of the world who we are, but rather these stand as testaments of pure art, and then also it has this added layer of being is our blood, you know. It's history. Again, I keep saying it.
Yeah.
Something feeling being at this table with you all. So I think there's something so inspiring about reading the previous volumes. There's nothing archaic. There's nothing, Herbert Hoover Junior High, I'm hella bored reading this about it. It's quite the opposite. It's inspiring. It's uplifting. It feels new soil to me. And I would hope then with each of the volumes, it comes that way.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, I just started, kind of tripping in my head when you were saying that. I was like, yeah, I kind of wrote about, I wrote about my mom and my Lolo.
Yeah,
of course I did.
Yes,
and if you asked me in 5 years, I would write the same. I would write another story in that same point. So I would think that maybe in 30 years, these kids that aren't going to even have, who knows what they can be on some triple, quadruple language. The English thing will be. I'm sure my shit will sound corny to them, but the rest of the volume will speak for itself. But yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Yeah. And go ahead, Jason.
I think one of the things that gets talked about a lot, I think amongst artists of color right now, is the issue of having to try to kind of navigate writing or making art and dealing with the white gaze. When you look at something like Liwanag, and it's almost like that question was never an issue. It's white gaze, what? I mean, it's you see the work that was being done the way that y'all wanted it to be, and you just put it out there.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing I always take away, I take away from that. And as far as the future, it's you hope that in the future, our younger generations are living in a more liberated, freer world than the one we're in now, in a safer world. So you hope that they can do things, they can look at it and see that that they can feel free writing about the flowers in the sky and things like that.
Yeah. And Malaya, what about you?
I mean, I feel like there's already that sort of happening now as someone who is in the future and looking back at Liwanag 1, of just being we have been here and we are here, and there are many different versions of our stories. And so kind of similar to what Jason is saying, of just hoping that us sharing our truest versions of ourselves can continue to do that through generations. And just to be able to look back and be just feel held in that, which I'd feel when I look at older generations. So.
And Shirley, do you want to add something to what you said, what you started?
Well, then comes the writer's question. Who are you writing for? Why do you write? And they're your relatives who are asking, are you still writing? And why are you still writing? And the answer is, yeah, why after all this time are we still writing? Do we just want to continue to be misunderstood by everybody? Our writing should reflect the voices and desires of the community. But more than that, there shouldn't be any easy answers, easy presentations. They should probe what's going on. It should be a good teaching moment for everyone. And where the writer is actually learning something, you're doing your research. It's before you pick up that pen, know where you've been. Know where your ancestors have been and know where you stand. The interesting thing about that is that we need, who is reading us, why are they reading us, and are they reading it well, okay? So they need to come back and respond to that. because we're just not writing for ourselves.
Thank you. Wow. All right. Well, I think it's this. Any questions from the audience? That I think Rachel is going to. Who's going to field the questions? Any questions from the audience? Yeah. It's not on. Put that on. It's not on. Okay, I'll tell a little story while we're waiting. Oh.
Oh, yeah. Are there any questions? Yes.
Questions or comments from the audience? All right, here's one.
What is your name?
My name is Jai. I'm a Pilipinx mixed white dancer here in the Bay, and I wanted to ask. I'm also a writer, but
All right.
I wanted to ask y'all what kinds of communal writing practices y'all partake in. What's been useful for y'all for continuing to make your practice propagate, I guess.
You want to rephrase that question, Rachel? So,
What collective experience do you have as writers to help nurture and support your work, and to also help propagate
yeah,
our narratives?
I see. Yeah. Any one of you guys want to tackle that? Okay, Jason, you.
I mean, just, having, just having friends that write. And no, I mean, it's real. It's like, and people that you trust to read your work and that are willing to share with you and, sit with you around it. Like, I think, and also just going out there to places where people are reading and meeting people, and I think like that's kind of, writing or even the practice of making art can feel like this isolating thing, but it doesn't have to be,
Yeah.
You just kind of put yourself out there and, make it happen that way.
Just like wellness.
Huh?
Just like wellness.
Oh, yes, wellness.
Questions? Anyone? Can take one more? No.
Oh, all right.
Oh, here's
there's
one.
right there.
This is Raquel Redondias, the director of SOMA Pilipinas.
All right. Oh, Raquel, you can get a job.
Hi, everyone. Whoa, sorry. Thank you for the panelists. And I just wanted to ask what the cultural district, SOMA Pilipinas, what potential do you see for artists and writers in particular? And what could we do to support your work and also just supporting future generations of writers from the Filipino community?
Yeah. Well, I think before I give it to them, I'm going to say something before I forget. I think we should put a lot emphasis on doing more films on graphic terms, because now it's easier. It's not that expensive to make. We have all the actors and the directors and the writers we need to make films. So why not get into that? One a year, 2 or 3 a year. What about you guys?
Volume 4, Liwanag.
Hey, film, yeah. Volume 4, Liwanag will be a film, yeah.
I think it's creating more opportunities. I mean, like with Liwanag 3, it's like we got more submissions than we could put in. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the thing. But if we can continue to create more opportunities, not only in public to publish, but also workshops, classes. Like if we can try to make opportunities for people to kind of learn and grow in their art. And it's like having classes and workshops is not just the learning, but it's also a chance to be able to build community with other people. So those are things that can be done.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's give a big round of applause for our moderator, Manong Oscar Peñaranda, panelists Shirley Ancheta, Malaya Tui, editor-in-chief, Jason Bayani, and Sean San Jose. This has been an amazing experience doing Liwanag 3. Please sign up at Archipelago Books, buy some books from them, and for Pawa, if you want to get the pre-order for Liwanag Volume 3. And enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you, API Cultural Center.